Can you really travel across Europe on a shoestring budget? You can, and I have. In the first episode of our secret season, we're touching down in England. You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Welcome to Travel FOMO. I'm Jamin Houghton, and I'm here with my wife, Hilarie. If you've always found yourself dreaming about your next big trip, then you are in the right place. Take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you listen.
Yeah, we're excited to bring you guys this new secret season where we're taking you behind the curtain to a throwback experience that really inspired the travel bug that I caught and then I gave to you. More or less.
Yeah. So we're stepping back in time, so a little bit away from what we typically do, but this secret season I'm really excited about. Because I know that when you were selling me on the idea of travel, a lot of it was stories that you were telling me from this trip that this season is about. It's you, your sister, Jessica Giles.
Yeah.
And the two of you, how old were you guys when you took this trip?
We were she was a teenager still, I think, and I was in my early 20s, just fresh out of college. She was still in college, and we were babies.
So cool. And so you went to Europe.
Yeah.
How many countries?
We hit up 9 countries over the course of about a month. So we were moving really quickly, just speed railing, literally like getting on speed trains, going as fast as we could from place to place.
As you guys went along, discovering this as like you're in college, like she's just barely in college, right? Mm-hmm. And so you guys were actually podcasting before podcasting was a thing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Tell us about that. It's
actually really cool now, although when you guys hear these clips, you're gonna like bust a gut because we were little kids on this trip. But my sister had a kind of like an MP3 digital voice recorder, and we would record every day. We would try to, kind of regurgitate really quickly, some of the highlights of the day, and so it was kind of like audio journaling back then, and it was really my sister's idea. I thought it was a fun way to kind of really remember things. You can hear all kinds of things in the background too of these clips, and the fun part is we now get to share those clips with our Travel FOMO listeners, which is so cool to go back 15 years and for them to hear the sounds that we were experiencing. I mean, you can hear cars and traffic and trains and all kinds of things. And so, and then you get to hear our tiny little voices talk about what we've been through.
That's so cool. It's really cool because we get to hear those clips from the time that it happened.
Yeah.
And then we set up interviews between you and your sister, so you guys get to have conversations from now about your trip back then. And so like we get the in the moment experience and then your guys' shared memories from that.
Yeah, that's
really
exactly
cool.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. And well, why don't we just go ahead and get started? Check it out.
Day 1, May 9th, 2005. We are sitting on our plane, American Airlines. It is 7 o'clock. And we are getting ready to take off for London, England, from Dallas, Fort Worth. And I'm crying. And I'm really excited. I'm happy. You're Jessica, Hilarie. Yeah, I'm Jessica, yes. And that's about it. Love you.
Okay, so first of all,
we can like pause and laugh because that was kind of funny.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of difficulty telling like you and your sister apart.
Yeah, right.
So like you guys sound very similar, especially like the 2005 versions of you. So who was crying and why were we crying?
Well, I was crying because I was officially in charge of my little sister and I was going to take her across the world and I was freaking out. And I talked to my mom recently about this and she was like, yeah, that wasn't cool. We were like, yeah, you had the audacity to cry as we're dropping you off at the airport, and we were like scared to death the whole time, and it finally hit you what a big deal this was, and you had the audacity to start crying then, and but she felt no remorse. Like she was like, no, you asked this, you're going on this trip. We drove you down to Dallas. But yeah, I was pretty scared.
I think we've got another clip, right?
Yeah.
Another clip from 2005.
Yeah. So this whole episode is really just about us being in England. And so I'm really just offering everybody the opportunity to listen to the clips that are from England before we go into this interview about the country. So,
Cool.
okay.
Let's hear the next one.
Day 2, May 10th, in London. Jessica and I are standing on the river, the Thames River, and we're looking at the London Bridge. Yes, and it is beautiful. It's outlined in blue, baby blue, and it's so pretty. It looks like a castle, literally. A castle on water with people driving through it. It's pretty. It's awesome. And like there's like stormy clouds everywhere, but the sun is shining on the water, and it's reflecting really great. Anyway, it's really awesome. It's really nice weather. It's a little cool, but it's nice enough that not too bad. Yeah, it's perfect.
So you guys are, at this point, you're just walking around London.
Yes, so we're just enjoying London, which is a really great place to land if you don't know a million other languages to speak. For us, it was really nice to know that we were coming into a country where we could at least know the language. And so that was really important. And you could tell I think I was in a better mood then. I'd gotten, my tears were gone.
We weren't crying anymore.
Right. Yeah, so that was really good. And yeah, no, we apparently loved the sun reflecting off of the River Thames.
Evidently, it's a beautiful sight.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got one more audio clip for you guys.
Day 3. This is Hilarie, and Jessica and I are sitting in the Buckingham Palace gardens, and it's just this park that is great. It is awesome. Not too fancy or anything, but it's really beautiful. And we're just sitting on a bench in the sunshine, enjoying everything. Jessica's been playing with the pigeons. And, yeah, it's been really awesome. We went to Buckingham Palace. We went to Covent Garden. We went to, where else did we go? I don't remember. Anyway, so Westminster Abbey and Parliament Square, and we went to see Big Ben. Anyway, it's been really fun, and now we're fixing to budget our money to see how much we spent and how bad we're doing. Hey, good, Jess. Hello, everyone. It's a beautiful day. The sunshine is out, and it's nothing what people say about London, except for Monica. Monica, you were right. The sun is very nice outside, and it's just a beautiful day. Like, it's not cloudy or anything. And anyway, it's great. We're having fun, and we have one day left. Today is our last day before we leave for Paris tomorrow. So anyway, we're going to enjoy it. Love you guys, and bye-bye.
Well, it's nice of Jessica to take a break from playing with the pigeons to come over and talk with you.
I love that. It's so funny. And did you notice how nonchalantly I said that? Like, it happens all the time. I just play with the pigeons.
Well, and I can totally imagine Jessica just playing with the pigeons while you...
She's adorable. I love her. How about the accents? I sound like I've got a Western Oklahoma accent, but it also is very young. Like, you can tell I'm very young in that. And yeah, it's really hard to tell me and my sister apart sometimes.
It is. And now, which everyone will find out here in just a minute, like, both of you sound very different. And I think as you college and then in your professional careers, both of you, like, you kind of, like, that accent sort of goes away, but it's cool to hear it back then. Yeah.
Well, I do want to point out one thing. We were budgeting, and it was day 3. And I have since listened to a lot of travel bloggers who might not budget until like the 3rd month or something. And so I am very proud of us for budgeting that quickly. And I thought it was really funny that my sister was giving a shout out to Aunt Monica, whom I don't think ever heard that audio clip.
You mean you guys didn't bring this home and play it for
I don't think so. But Aunt Monica, if you're listening to the podcast, we finally found a way to get you that audio clip.
Send it back. We acknowledge she was right about the weather.
You were right.
It's not always
can be
cloudy.
sunny in England. Yeah.
Way to go, Monica.
Right.
So now we're jumping into like modern day, the interview, like you two were like reminiscing about your trip, telling us all about it. I'm really excited to listen to it. So if you're ready, let's kick it off.
Let's do it. Do you remember kind of what instigated this trip?
Well, gosh, man, I don't really know what started it. I don't know what made me think. I don't know like who initiated it exactly. I just remember at one point, I do love languages, so
Yeah.
I had like those awesome audio cassette like drive to class listening to my learn French, learn
Rosetta Stone.
Italian. Well, this wasn't Rosetta Stone, but similar, I mean,
Yeah.
just phrases and stuff like that. And I was a nerd back then and wrote down every little phrase in a notebook that I could learn. But so I don't remember if it was like, if it was, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
remember what prompted it, but somehow we were like, yeah, we should do
We're
that.
doing this.
And then, yeah, when we bought the tickets, I think we bought the tickets in January and we were going to fly out in May. And we were like, okay, like, well, we did a lot of research, we were
We
like,
did do a
okay,
lot of
where are we
research.
we got to be able to get deals and how much is this going to be and all that. And bought
Yeah.
those tickets and we're like, this is happening.
And we weren't like, you were in Western Oklahoma. I was away at college, so we weren't necessarily getting to plan this trip side by side every day.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was kind of crazy too. We kind of had to like make plans and do our research on our own. And I remember when we bought those tickets at Christmas, and it was like the prices hit an all-time low, and it was like $450 or something like that
Yeah, it
for
was
a
awesome.
round trip tickets.
And we were like so proud that we were like, you know what, it's $100 if we fly out from Dallas. And
Yeah.
so $100 cheaper. And so we put our parents through the ordeal of like, hey, you want to drive us out of state so we can get a cheaper rate?
Yeah, that was not yeah. And it's not like we would want to leave our vehicle. It's not like I would just drive down there with my vehicle, because you wouldn't want to leave your vehicle at the airport for a month. But yeah, so we flew out of DFW to London Gatwick, and that was, I think, May 9th, 2005, and had our parents drive us down to Dallas. I think either way, our parents were going to have to drive us, because we were either going to fly out of Oklahoma City, which was still a couple hours away, or we were going to fly out of DFW. And so
Yeah,
that's kind of,
that's
part of
true.
the catch too. But oh man, when we got to that airport, I cried like a baby. I was so scared, and you were so happy. And I was like, I'm scared. I don't know if I can do this.
I think seeing well, mom and dad, like, here they're sending their young adult kids to other countries. And
I know.
I think that, I don't know, mom cried. And I think dad, he didn't cry, but, and, I think he had like a strong, being the man, being like confident, but at the same time, I think he was a little nervous too.
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah,
could
for
probably
sure.
read that. If I could read that being 19 and being pretty naive in some ways, I think you could probably read it too.
Yeah. They were definitely nervous for us. I know when we bought the tickets, they were like, what? And then both of us had a graduation coming up. I think I had my college graduation, and then you had your high school graduation.
No, I was already out of high school. I was a year into college.
You were a year into college. Oh,
I guess
okay.
so. I was just into my first year as we were planning it. I was literally commuting to college, listening to those language tapes.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, still really young, still living in the house with mom and dad, because I went to a closer college and than I had originally planned. And so, I hadn't been on my own yet in any capacity, and so still very much like a high schooler.
Yeah. And do you remember the binder that we had? Like, we had a huge, like, 3-ring binder.
I don't remember it, but I'm not surprised at all.
I know, right?
Like, that's how we were.
Well, and it was back in the day when, like, it's not like we could take our smartphones overseas. Even if we had, I don't know that we even had, I think I had a Nokia probably, but like, it's not like you're going to take
take that binder with us, surely.
We did.
Did we?
We did. And then we were so
my
annoyed. I
word.
think we threw it away at the airport. Like, I don't think we got far with it.
That's smart. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, dang. But man,
Oh,
that
yeah.
explains why I haven't been able to find a lot of that research.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, I know I did so much research trying. We both did.
And well, I think
That's
we
so
threw
funny.
things away along the way. So we kind of took it
Yeah,
all out of that binder and just kind of moved on without the three-ring binder and just kept some of the content.
gotcha. Oh, how
Kind of
funny.
crazy. Yeah. Um,
Oh.
yeah. Well, what were your feelings whenever we were leaving? Were you scared?
I wasn't. I've looked back and I've been like, was I naive? I don't know. Like, should I have cried? Like after going and coming back and looking back on the trip, I'm like, man, there were some situations that, like, Jessica, you put yourself in a
Yeah.
situation that could have been really tricky and really not a
Yeah,
great
me too.
situation. But I realized, like, I could have also put myself in that situation in America. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing different about it being in Europe or America. But I don't know. I remember us praying on the plane, like, before we flew off. And so I think spiritually I was in a good place at that time in my life. And I think I just really trusted that, like, God's going to take care of us. This is going to be a great trip. But I'm curious to know, like, with the way the world is now, like, okay, well, what would I think now? Like, I've lived 15 years longer,
Yeah.
and you had already been out of the house. So you had already seen some, different things. And so I think it was like a combination of being a little naive and also just knowing that, okay, like, God's got this.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yep. He's letting it happen, so he's got
letting it
us.
happen, right?
Yeah. So, question for you:
Very excited.
would you let your three boys, let's say, because they're kind
Oh,
they're
that's
kind of
not
close.
fair.
I know. Would you let them go off to Europe and do a month-long adventure, or I don't
Oh,
know,
wow.
Australia?
Um, I think so. I mean, gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's not now. I mean, my kid walked 2 houses down to our neighbors the other day, and I started tearing up thinking about college. Like,
Oh.
so it's, and they're, 9. I still have a ways to go before they're only halfway toward that age. So I think I would probably be in the exact same boat that mom and dad felt of, man, this is scary, letting
Yeah.
go of a piece of my heart and trusting them to the world. But also, it would definitely be a thing of having to remember, okay, hey, Jess, like, God helped you raise these kids so that you could let them go at age
Mm.
18 and let them live their life and be adventurous and be brave and face the world, not run from it.
Yeah.
Face challenges and face adventure and be able to enjoy it and live life as an adventure with purpose, and not run from it in fear. Because there's a lot of fear around us
Yeah.
today, and it could be really easy to just be crippled by that fear and not do anything.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. For sure. Well, okay, so let's
gosh,
start out off on the adventure. We left on a Monday, driving down to Dallas. I think it was a overnight flight, I'm guessing.
I
Um,
think maybe that was
so
another
too.
appeal out of going out of Dallas, is that it would be like
Yes.
one. It
Yes,
did seem
one
like a
flight.
long flight.
Yeah, it was a long flight. We arrived on Tuesday morning, I'm pretty sure. And I remember thinking, I love London. And I'd been there once before, but I remember thinking I could live here one day for sure. I loved
Mhm.
London.
Yeah, I loved how, like, hearing all the different, again, I'm a language nerd, so, like, hearing all the different cultures and languages that were being spoken by other people that looked like Americans. They just,
Yeah.
like, oh, I thought you might speak English, but, and
Yeah.
a lot of people still did, but it was just awesome to see all the cultures, like, coming together, and it was very neat. I love that.
Yeah. London is so diverse. And I remember thinking
Mhm.
Paris was too, but I'll save that for Paris. But yeah, I remember we stayed in this hostel in North London, and I can vaguely remember what it was like. It felt like we were out in the suburbs. But it was like I remember asking the guy there. We were talking to the guy that worked at the front desk, and we were telling him about everywhere we were going to go. And I was like, asking him, will the French be mean to us? And he was like, and I said something about, like, I heard that they really hate Americans. Are they going to be mean to us? And he said, yeah, but so do we. awesome. This is going to be a great trip. Even the English don't like us.
That's funny. But he ended up, he was pretty nice, even though that's
He was
funny.
nice.
I mean, so
it was
it's
all
like
in good
a
fun.
just, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's so
too
funny.
funny. Gosh, that was something I forgot about that I prayed about. Apparently, looking back at my journals, that like, oh, I prayed that the French would be nice to us after that conversation.
Yeah, right. So you remember that conversation?
I don't remember the conversation, but I must have written about it. Or at least remembered that, like, we're on to France and they may not be nice to us there.
Right.
And so I wrote about it and I thought that's hilarious.
That's too funny. And one thing that you and I both noted before we got on the podcast, that we found that we journaled a lot about the people we met, even more maybe than some of the experiences, which is so funny. So you guys, along the way, all of the audience will just kind of get to meet all these people that we met too. But
it just goes to show how much we really like how we feel in an experience, like how it just goes with us, and like how valuable people are. That like here we were seeing all these amazing historical things and like literally have been there for thousands of years in some locations, and yet like the highlight was getting to fellowship and like hang out with other people and like what every person brought to the table.
Yeah, I love that we love people so much that was a real highlight of the trip, and it makes me so glad we went together, because if one of us had done this adventure on our own, we probably still would have been writing about these people, but there would be people that we would never see again, and instead we got to experience it together. So
yeah,
I
for
love
sure.
that.
When you're planning a trip, what are the tools you use? Have you ever thought about a better way? To plan more efficiently, to save money, optimize time? We all have some kind of limits on our resources: time, money, energy. Let's find a way to make the most of them. Let's find a way to help each other take the best possible memories with us when we head home from our journey. If your product does that, let's get together and share it here.
But one of those people we met was, and I might have journaled about this guy a little bit throughout the course of this trip, but his name was George Sharp. He was a fisherman from New Jersey, and he talked like he's from New Jersey too. I'd forgotten until I read my journal. I was like, oh yeah, he has a mouth. But I think that's a Jersey thing. But I introduce him at this point because later on in the story, when we're in some other countries, we're going to end up bumping into him. It becomes such a small world in Europe when you're backpacking. And so there were several people we saw more than once. And so he was one of them. So I introduce him at this point just so you guys will, hear more about him later on. And another thing that I did, Jessica, was I mailed postcards from like every city, and I mailed them to myself.
Which I don't remember if I mailed them or not, but I wrote them out. But I wouldn't be surprised that you mailed them to yourself. I think it's adorable.
It's really funny. So now I'm looking back, and they're kind of part of the journaling process, I guess you could say. But it's really funny. And I brought along a long list of names of people that I wanted to send a postcard to. I'm not sure if I really did that, but actually, if any of you guys are listening and you got a postcard from us while we were in Europe, you should let us know, because we would just get such a kick out of that. It'd be a hoot.
That'd be awesome.
So Jessica, what was one of your favorite memories from England specifically?
Oh man, I don't know. I think I just really enjoyed seeing the city and just kind of like going. I did enjoy seeing different like the Big Ben and like what Westminster Abbey. I think we like didn't we like sing when we were like singing. I think we like ate lunch and like sat there in like this big hall and it like echoed or something like that. But I think I enjoyed seeing the sights a lot there. And I don't know. I mean, it was our first spot, so I may have just like enjoyed it all. Like it was all so new to me. I hadn't traveled a lot. Not in an I've been to Mexico on a mission trip, but other than that, I mean, I hadn't flown overseas before and been to big airports and stuff like that, and just really enjoying, I think, the people, and like, gosh, it is such a big world, but it is all like merging in this amazing city. And I remember we went to see Les Mis. We went and saw that play, and it was like our first night, and we were so tired. I don't know if I actually fell asleep or if I was like on the verge, but we were exhausted, total jet lag. And so I would probably go back and do that again. But like, embrace it all the more with better rest. But I don't know.
That is so crazy. I did not remember seeing Les Mis.
I wrote that in my journal. Woo woo! Thank goodness. That's how I remembered it. But
and we went together. You didn't go.
Yeah.
Okay. I figure
we got all dressed up
at that point.
To go in the town.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's crazy because then later on, when I returned to London, I went to see Les Mis, and I had no recollection that I'd already seen it in London.
Because we were so tired. I'm telling you,
we were tired. We were so tired. Yeah. Well, I've
probably not the best idea to do that the first day.
Exactly. Maybe not the first night. I remember, like you do, being at Westminster Abbey, sitting down on the steps there, and I remember eating sandwiches. And I think we just bought them at a quick stop somewhere nearby. They weren't, it was nothing fancy. And we did not eat fancy on this trip, guys.
No.
We went on this trip.
Yeah. This was total college kids roughing it.
Yeah. We went on this trip courtesy of all the people who love us so much that as we were graduating, we were saving up money from people and stuff. But yeah, I remember that was some of my favorite memories, was being there at Westminster Abbey with you. And then also, I feel like it was a park, and I think it was Buckingham Palace Gardens, where
I think that's right.
Is that right? Yeah.
I think so.
That hung out for like maybe an hour or two, and just relaxed, and it was beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah.
And that's where I apparently fell in love with the pigeons. Oh, good Lord. Wrote about it in my journal. It's such a highlight. I was like, those sweet pigeons. Cute. And they owned the city. I just thought it was so remarkable how comfortable they felt in this huge city, just walking around people. And again, little, Western Oklahoma girl. So I know anyone from America, from a big city, is like, hello, like there's birds all over our cities. This isn't unique to Europe. But I just thought it was so neat. It was like, oh my gosh, they're like not even afraid. They're just like, they own this city. These pigeons own this city.
Right.
That's how it felt. Yeah, it was funny.
That's funny.
But that was a beautiful park.
Yeah. Was there anything you wish that you had done that maybe was on the list and you didn't quite get there, or you would add it to your list?
Nothing that comes to mind necessarily. I would definitely have now I love history now, when I didn't love it so much in high school. And so I wish I had brushed up on my history. I love English history in particular. I love listening to stories about English monarchs and all this, and it's like, oh my gosh, I was right there. I would have loved to have really understood what it was. Oh, there's the tower, or just different locations that you just don't realize how much history is really in it when you're this young kid. And so I think I would go back with a lot more history knowledge, but man, it was a great trip. I think it was a great balance of being intentional that, hey, we're going to get out and see stuff, but also not stressing about, we got to see all the sites to the point that it's unpleasant, the person can go there too. And, but
I love that.
I think it was good.
Is there anything that you would do? I kind of felt like we left no stone unturned. So there's nothing I wish that we had done that we missed out on or anything, but is there anything that you loved so much you would do it again? Very next trip, you don't really care. You're going to do it again, even though you've been there, done that.
I don't know. Just all of it. I know that's not an answer.
I know.
I know that's not
I know. I don't know about you, but I loved Covent Gardens, and it's always going to be on my list to return to.
That was good. Yeah. That
She's
was
so
fun.
charming.
That was very charming. Very
Yeah.
charming. I think, wasn't there like someone out there like playing violin? It's just very like
Mm-hmm.
quaint little spot. It seemed like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
very
and we
cozy and cute.
returned. London was the only place in England that we went to, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we returned to it at the end of our trip because our flight was a round trip from London.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember this, Jess, but well, a couple things. When we returned, it was, oh, you guys got to tune in later because you'll hear about how the trip ends. But man, it was very much a rush to get to the airport and get through France, where there was a strike. And so we ended up making it to London, I guess maybe a little earlier than we expected, or the timing was off. And so we slept in the airport that last night, didn't we?
Yeah,
That was
yeah, we did. We ended up pretty much leaving a whole day earlier from Spain than
mm-hmm.
intended. And so then yeah,
Yeah, it's
yay
kind of crazy.
France. That is a whole story
Oh my
coming
goodness,
up.
yeah. And then the other thing I remember is getting back to the United States. And so this is around June 2005, and hearing about, I mean, we were a couple days back and hearing that there had been bombings in the underground of London, and it was,
Yeah.
man, one of the most popular spots, I believe, if not more, several spots. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking, oh my goodness, we were just in that subway at that spot.
Yeah. 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 Like within a month, I think. I think it was like we got back in June. I think it was July, early
Oh, was
July.
it?
And
Okay.
that, yeah, it was
Yeah.
super. It was like, wow, that we just made it back.
Yeah.
I
And we
mean,
still
and
knew
we,
people that
yeah,
were
that
there.
were
And it was kind of
there.
like, oh man, I hope they're okay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
Man, that's
crazy.
crazy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And we ended up leaving. We went in early May, so like it wasn't the high touristy season just yet. So it that's why we were able to get back so early. It's like, oh man, if we had like gone in high tourist season, we would have been there in July when that happened.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
it's
crazy.
crazy.
Well, Jess, anything else about England before we wrap it up? And we've got a lot of places to go, people. We're gonna hit up France and the Netherlands and Germany and Austria and Switzerland and Spain and Italy and, oh my goodness, so many places to go. So that'll be in other episodes. We're gonna try to do a country per episode. But Jess, is there anything else about England you want to make sure you want to share?
Well, I'm looking at pictures right now and I see one that said, "Here stood Paul's cross." Do you remember
Mm.
that?
I think, is that St. Paul's Cathedral?
Maybe. I'm like, oh man, that's probably one that would probably be at the top of my list that I would want to research more and like
Mm-hmm.
really know what happened in all that. That would be super fascinating.
Yeah.
Apparently I thought it was cool enough to take a picture of, or you took a picture, one or the other, but um again, history, people study your history. You'll appreciate
Right.
it someday when
You'll
you get out and
appreciate
about
it.
in the world.
Well, the other thing I think is really kind of interesting about our trip is that we didn't have smartphones with us, so we literally had to print off everything, and then we also had to navigate our way that with whatever we had in our hands, and then
Mhm.
we also there was just this what am I trying to articulate, like it was just really hard to like know everything that people know now. You couldn't arrive and then
Oh yeah.
figure things out. To some degree you had to do a lot of research up front, and so I think we spent a lot of front end research trying to figure out where to stay, where we go, how to get there, we bought tickets and all kinds of things
Yeah.
that nowadays we could just do on the fly. And
Mhm.
we had to spend a lot of our
Wow, that's
upfront
so
time
true.
doing that.
Golly, that is so true. I didn't even think about that, but
It's
yeah,
kind of
there's
fascinating.
so
Oh,
much of it.
I know what else I was going to say. I was fascinated that when I went through our photos, we didn't have nearly as many as I thought. And we brought a digital camera from one of my colleagues, Dave Shipman. Thanks, Dave, for letting me borrow your camera for a month in And they took
Brave soul.
it took fabulous photos, but I think we kept running out of room, and so we kept deleting photos, is going to be my guess. But I was shocked that we didn't have like a zillion photos because it was a digital camera.
Yeah, you'd think we would have.
Yeah.
I know we uploaded some to like family and stuff later on in the trip, but that doesn't mean we deleted them off the camera to make room. I don't know. That's interesting.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, everything is more these days. It's like, gosh, you can do more. So much has changed in 15 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So crazy. And you guys, we are young. We are like so young.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, nobody believes us.
We don't believe us.
Okay, so cool to hear you guys talk about your trip and like the time you had way back when. So I need to ask, like, whose idea was it to go on the trip, right? Because there's always an instigator, and you guys, like, in your conversation, there was some debate, like whose idea was it? So who was the one that came up and was like, you know what we need to do? We need to go to Europe for a month.
You know, I don't know that I remember exactly. I do remember she was super passionate about different countries and the languages there. So there's that. But I also remember knowing some people from college, a couple guys who ended up backpacking Europe, and I remember being like, that sounds amazing. And to do it with like one of your best friends sounded like such a great idea. And so for me, I was kind of using them as a really inspiration. And I think they went a lot longer than we did and all that. And most everybody does go for more than a month. But yeah, I would say they were the inspiration. And we just started talking. It really started happening probably a year in advance. And then by Christmas time, right after Christmas, the prices of the airline tickets went down, and we were like, okay, this is it. Boom, we're doing it. And we bought our tickets right after Christmas.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as the older sister and kind of the person who maybe had the first inspiration for the trip, did you feel like you had a responsibility for Jessica? Like it was more on you that Jessica like be safe or have a good time or be taken care of? Did you feel like you had to take that on?
Yeah, definitely. As one could probably tell by my tears in the opening audio clip, I was really worried, and almost the more lighthearted she was, the more I took on me, because I felt like she doesn't get it, you know, and that would make me even more concerned.
So she's playing with the pigeons and you're doing budget.
Well, she helped with budget too. but yeah, I was pretty nervous, pretty scared.
Yeah.
And also just highly aware that if something happened to her, there was nobody else to blame but me. And so, you know, I just, I loved her, and I knew that, she's also just very, one of the most kind-hearted people, and continues to be more and more so throughout the course of her life. One of the most kind-hearted people I've ever met. And so, and that is reflected. People see that everywhere we go, and we really experienced that a lot on this trip. And it made me, it's one of the things I love the most about her, but it made me the most afraid for her and for us.
Right, because people can see that, and the wrong kind of people can try to take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, and she's pretty, and we would walk around places. You'll hear we'd walk around places, particularly in Italy. The guys wanted to kiss her on the face and hands, and like they loved her and would just walk up to her and tell her how beautiful she was, and it's because she was smiling. I mean, and I was very much like, don't make eye contact, like, don't smile, don't anything. And so I was trying to be the bad cop, and she was enjoying life. And so I wish, by the end of it, she helped balance me out. And I think maybe I balanced her out some too. So we both really needed each other. So
Yeah. So a trip like this, particularly, you know, I mean, you're two young, like young girls, young women, like, and I think just places in Europe or foreign countries, stuff like that in general, can be intimidating to people. So should people be afraid to travel?
That's a great question. And I think you should ask it at the end of the season again. There are some scary things that end up happening, but no, I would say do not be afraid to travel. Bad things happen no matter where you are. So I've had some of the worst things that have happened to me weren't on a trip. You know, they weren't in a foreign country. It was just stuff that happened. You know, your car gets stolen from your apartment complex outside your window, or you know, things like that. It happens, and it's not because you're in a foreign country. So yeah,
I would agree. I think the benefits outweigh the risks.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to travel, like what you can gain from travel, and certainly, like, you know, you can find 100 bad stories of like stuff that went wrong or those kinds of situations. But like you said, like there's danger everywhere, and just like what you get out of travel is so great that it's worth that risk.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think everyone, probably like me, is secretly on the inside dying to know what was in the binder.
It's secret. I'd have to kill you if I told you. So ironically, this is, we just live in such a different world now where you have all the information you need at your fingertips, but, and you have it in whatever language you need it, right? But we were highly aware of how we were traveling. We would not have access to the internet without literally putting a coin in a computer. I kid you not. That has happened. And so we didn't have access to the internet. So if we wanted to go somewhere or do something, we needed to have it with us, that information with us. And so we had a 3-ring binder. You heard it. You heard us. It was real. And we had just been printing off all kinds of stuff, trying to pull together all the research that we could, and just have information like, you know, where are we staying? What's the phone number? What's the address for the hostel that we'll be at in, you know, Munich, Germany? And so that was what the binder was, but it did not last long. We were like, what are we going to do? We couldn't put it in our backpacks. It was way too big. It was just like, no, this isn't going anywhere. We didn't even get on the plane with it, I'm pretty sure. Like or maybe we took it on the plane and took it back off. I don't know, but it's pretty funny.
It got thrown away in an airport.
It did get thrown away in an airport. I think there's a photo of me holding it up over a trash can. Like, this has got to go. We just took out the most important pieces.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So the postcards you wrote to yourself, did you keep them?
I did. But I think they're too cheesy to share. So, and you know that's true.
Can't imagine.
Hilarie, you're having such a great time. Blah, 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 blah.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Hilarie's sister, Jessica Giles, for making time to share her experiences. And thank you for joining us for this episode of the Travel FOMO podcast. Before we go, we want to know, what was the first big trip you went on? Post those throwback photos and tag us on social media. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And we'll be posting some photos and videos from our own adventures. Or you can visit us at travelfomopodcast.com.
And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening. And tune into the next adventure in the secret season where Jessica and I continue on to France. Life is short, guys.
Wander well.